Conservative New Media viewers, Jeremy Lin fans around the world, what's up? It's me, PFE, Paul F. Villarreal, the NBA expert. We're here to talk about Brooklyn's 106-97 defeat tonight to the Indiana Pacers in Brooklyn, New York City. Brooklyn falls to 9-41 on the season. The Pacers improve to 27-22 on the year. Pacers have now won 5 straight games. Brooklyn has lost, I think, 8 in a row now. And so that's where both teams are kind of headed in opposite directions in this game. However, this game, much like the Knicks game, had a lot of bright moments for the Nets. I'm actually very pleased about this game, much as I've been pleased in a lot of the several of the recent losses. And I'll get to that in just a second. What happened in this game was very similar to the Knicks game. The Nets had an opportunity to win. They were in this game with about, 5.5 minutes left. It was a 1-point game. And then 2 things happened. One, the Pacers were able to go to Paul George in isolation for scores when they had to. The Nets, on the other hand, don't have somebody like that. They don't have a closer right now. Jeremy's not playing right now, so that eliminates him being able to do that. And they just don't know how to win yet, as I've said several times this year. And what that means in practice is they don't have somebody to go to when they need a score, like a Paul George. They're not quite sure where they want to be at, what they want to do. What moves, what's the go-to move? They couldn't get the ball to Brook Lopez, particularly in one sequence that was important when Brook had gotten a switch and was being guarded by Jeff Teague. They couldn't get him the ball. So this is the process that they're going through. And it's no surprise. It's going to take this year. It's probably going to take even longer than this year and into next year for them to just kind of figure out who's the guy, who's the person getting the shots, or what are the sets, what are the plays that are going to work for them. But it's for them, for the Nets to be able to play as well as they did in this game and as hard as they did, it shows that they're gaining confidence. And Coach Atkinson, he's figuring out the lineups more and more. What has been happening, and it continued into this game, and I think it was the case in the last game as well. Last game was a little bit less. In the recent events, the bench has been better than the starters. Now, against the Knicks, there were 3 double-figure scores among the starters, and only 2 double-figure scores off the bench. So it was the starters started to kind of pick it up a little bit in that Knicks game, and they actually outplayed the bench. And that's when Coach Atkinson inserted Whitehead and Rondé Hollis-Jefferson into the starting lineup. In other words, let's take some of the strong bench and move them into starters. And let's see how it works out. Well, the bench was still kind of figuring it out in that game. It's like, well, now the personnel has switched. We're not getting quite as much efficiency from the bench as we were before. But tonight, the bench was strong once again. Even though another lineup change was made in this game, which was to insert Karis LeVert into the starting lineup. And partly that was done because Bojan Bogdanovic did not play tonight. Bojan and Jeremy Lin were the only 2 healthy players who were not available to play tonight. They wanted to rest Bojan, and of course Jeremy's still recovering from the leg injury. Also, Justin Hamilton and Chris McCullough didn't play tonight. I don't think Chris McCullough was active. Justin Hamilton, I don't know why he didn't play. I'm not sure if he was being rested. I don't know. But he wasn't participating tonight. I don't think he's hurt, but I have to check on that. But I just think the decision was made to not play him, either resting or just they didn't want him in the rotation tonight for whatever reason. So what happened tonight then, there were 3 double-figure scores from the bench, and 2 more players off the bench had 8 points. So they were only 1 basket away from scoring double figures themselves. Now, the starters didn't get it done tonight, and part of that is because Isaiah Whitehead only played 14 minutes in this game, so he got hurt a little bit, and he kind of sat out the rest of the game. And LeVert struggled a little bit, but we know Whitehead, LeVert, and Rondé can score. They were the guys who were doing a lot of good work with the bench. But now the bench, with the new lineup, they're starting to figure it out. They're starting to come together. So what this means altogether is Coach Atkinson is figuring out and finding the proper lineup combinations. This is really, really important. And when it comes together, then you're going to have an effective starting unit and an effective bench. And that means the Nets will be able to play in the style that we've talked about, which is attack you in waves. Have your starters come in, they do a solid job. Then you bring in your whole new 5 or 6 men coming off the bench. They come in, they do well. I mean, it sounds very simple, but it's not that simple. For a team that is essentially almost all new this year, with a lower end talent pool and a bunch of rookies, and with all the injuries and other things this season, it takes a long time to figure this out, and a rookie coach as well. And now it's starting to take place. It's starting to really and truly happen. And that's why I'm so excited. They played extremely hard against the Knicks, and they played extremely hard tonight against the Pacers. And 2 people that have kind of come back into the mix are definitely making a big effect, and that's Joe Harris and Quincy Acey. Quincy Acey, of course, being signed to the 2-year reported deal, and Joe Harris coming off of injury. And so it's only going to get better when Boyan is playing. So you add Boyan into what you had tonight, add Justin Hamilton into what you had tonight, and then put Jeremy into what you had tonight. So guys are gaining in confidence. The coach is gaining confidence and an understanding of what lineups work. And now you have enough solid players to be able to execute this. Here's a statistic that I just was looking at for myself, and I found out in tonight's game and the last game, in those 2 games taken together, you had 8 different players who scored in double figures for the Nets, which means you have a good amount of distribution in scoring ability. And then the Nets are not a superstar-minded team. They're a evenly distributed scoring mentality team. They want everybody to be able to score, everybody to be a threat. Everybody participates in the offense in terms of passing the ball. That's the style they play. Like in Atlanta, like a San Antonio. That's when they're most effective. Yes, Brooks going to lead the team in scoring a lot. Jeremy will lead the team in scoring a lot. But they need everybody to be able to have the ability to score the ball. And they're showing in the last 2 games they can do that. They can do that. And as the younger players continue to settle into the league, get a better grip on what they need to do, it's going to get even more and more effective for the Nets. Look, the young guys struggled tonight. LeVert, Whitehead, and Hollis Jefferson, they didn't do much in this game. And the Nets still had a chance to win. That's a really, really good sign. That's a good sign of depth. And it's building up. Things are progressing at a pretty good rate for the Nets. So forget about the losses. The team is absolutely in the mode right now of experimenting. They want to win. They're not tanking. A couple of people have asked me, are they tanking? No, they're not tanking. They're trying to win, but they're not Like, they're not going with the most experienced players. They want to kind of get these young guys more experience. So they're going to try different things, but with the understanding that they're looking at the long-term picture. They're not going all out to win a game now, but of course, when they put these guys out there, everybody wants to win. And I'm in complete agreement with what they're doing and how they're doing it, and they're getting closer and closer and closer. It's almost like knocking on a glass door or something. You keep knocking, you keep knocking, you keep knocking, you keep knocking, you keep hitting it, you keep hitting it, and eventually it's going to break. That's what the Nets are doing, and they're getting closer to breaking through the barrier. They're just not quite there yet, but they know they can feel it. There was so much energy in the building tonight, and a lot of it was being provided by Quincy Acee. And then for a while, the team was going with the lineup of Acee and Booker at power forward and center, and those two guys are hustle maniacs, and when you have that much energy, it's hard to keep that down. Like the Nets are they're on their way to getting beyond these tough times and lose. And when they break through it, it's going to be, it can be contagious, and they could go on a little winning streak. It might take time for that to happen. I mean, again, this is still a young team and a new team, new with one another, but it's very encouraging. And like I said, the last two games have been extremely entertaining. They've just been fun. If you're a basketball fan at all, if you don't know anything about the team or anything, these are fun games. They're competitive games. These aren't blowouts where the Nets are just like, they look pathetic. No, they're for real now. And once they can play like this on a consistent basis, and to be honest with you, in the last 8 games, there's only, been 2 blowouts, like Spurs and Minnesota. And I said in the last video, it's easy for the Nets to get blown out because of their style, because they allow so many possessions that they can have a 15-point loss that might be an 8-point loss for another team. But once they're able to compete like this and have confidence and consistency throughout their rotation, through the 9 or 11 men or whomever, however many they play, then they've arrived. And they're the last 2 games, actually the last 3 games, including the Miami game, they've all been like that. 8-point loss, 9-point loss, or whatever. But these are close games, particularly the last 2, and that's what we're looking for. And the team and the individual players know it, and they feel it. They know they're getting close. And once you have a sense of it, once you get a little taste of the winning or being able to break through, then it can happen very quickly. So I'm extremely encouraged by this. I was, like I said, it was a fun game. Indiana just had the better closers down the stretch. They knew more of what they wanted to do. Brooklyn looks like a team that's a little jittery and hasn't been there before, but they want to be there. They want to get there, and they want to get there quick. So I think everybody in the franchise should be feeling pretty good about the last 2 games and encouraged, and I'm sure that is how they feel. I'm interested to hear what Coach Atkinson says, because he has to be pleased. I mean, the guys are fighting, and they're fighting hard. So I'm expecting some good things to be happening soon, just based upon what we're seeing and how much fight this team has. And I'm just so glad they got Quincy Acee, and he just helps so much. And now, I mean, you really seriously have on this team now, when Jeremy comes back, I mean, you have 13, 14 guys who can play and who are playing fairly regularly. I mean, the only guy there's 15 men on the team, 3 different strings, first string, second string, third string. The only guy who doesn't play with any regularity is Chris McCullough. Even if you look at the third string, they're playing a fair amount. Spencer Dinwiddie, who's probably the third point guard when Jeremy's back, he's playing quite a bit. Randy Foye, who could very easily be the third string shooting guard, he's playing quite a bit. Luis Scola, he plays some. He played tonight. Justin Hamilton, he plays. So it's working. And the Nets, again, they want to play with a deep bench because they want to play fast. You need a lot of depth to be able to do that, and you need guys who are ready to play. You actually need guys who can play, and the Nets have built that up. They've built that up throughout the season, and I'm sure there's going to be plenty of roster changes in the offseason. Still, if you bring back a number of those guys, they can contribute, even the third string guys, because they're used to playing. And that's not something you see on a lot of teams. You do see it on the Spurs, though. No matter who they put out there, they all can play. They all contribute because they're expected to be able to do that, and because Coach Popovich plays them a lot. That's how the Nets are doing it, and it's working. That's the key. It's working. Even though they've lost 8 games in a row. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. You know me, I would tell you the truth. If I thought this team was shaky or whatever, I'd be like, nah, they're just not playing well. They don't know what they're doing. It's the opposite of that. It's coming. It's starting. It's coming together. And it's getting better and better. And I'm much happier than I thought I would be at this point in the season based upon the record. If you would have told me at the start of the season the Nets are going to be the worst team in the NBA and the worst record, and we're about 2/3 of the way through the season or so, how would you feel? I'd say I feel pretty bad. But I don't. Actually, I feel pretty good, particularly given all the injuries and stuff and how much time Jeremy has missed. Look, if you're Jeremy, you got to feel great because your team is progressing even though you're not playing. And that means when you do get back to playing, you're coming back to a better team, which helps him out and puts less strain on him to have to be able to do everything. And it makes things a lot brighter of an outlook heading into next year. So Jeremy's got to feel good. Obviously, he's not happy being out, but this team is moving forward. It's working. The plan is coming together. So, I feel great. I can't wait to the next game, which, like I said, earlier in this season, I was losing interest. I was serious. A couple of times this season, I was losing interest, particularly when Jeremy wasn't playing, because it was the same thing over and over again. You couldn't really see it. But now you can see the progress. Now it's like I want to watch them play more because you can. It's happening. You want to see when they're going to break through. When are they going to get that win? How's it going to happen? Who's going to step up? And it's good, man. I mean, it's like I said, the great thing about this is that we're here at year 0, and we get to see this thing built from the absolute bottom up, from the very first brick being laid in the foundation. You can say, yeah, I was there then, when everybody else thinks the Nets are a joke. They don't even know what's happening. So it's kind of fun to be there when it's happening like that. Okay, that's all I have to say about this game. So let's talk about the next game upcoming. It will take place in less than 48 hours, Sunday, February 5th, here in the United States. It will be in Brooklyn, New York, once again. The opponent is the Toronto Raptors. Toronto they're in a little bit of a funk right now. They've fallen to 3rd in the Eastern Conference. I think they've been struggling with some injuries. For most of the year, they were 2nd in the Eastern Conference, behind only the Cleveland Cavaliers. Now they're behind Cleveland and the Boston Celtics. So Toronto's hit a bit of a speed bump. They're still a better team than Brooklyn is. They will be favored in the game, I'm sure, as long as they're relatively healthy. This will be a good test. Toronto's a deep team. Even if they're injured, even if they've got a couple injuries, they're a pretty deep team. So it will definitely test Brooklyn and test their depth. Let's line it up and see what we got. like I said, I want to see what we can do against some of these teams. Even if we lose, let's just see can we compete? Can we do it? We had a trouble with the Spurs because they have depth all through the roster, and that was a tough. If you're not totally focused, Spurs will blow you apart. Just because it's a good measuring stick. Toronto's not as good as the Spurs, but they're still a good measuring stick. So let's see what happens. It's a matinee game, meaning that it starts early in the afternoon. In this case, 12 p.m. Eastern time here in the United States. So 9 a.m. out in California, and very early game. It's as early as the NBA will start a game, and this is what you get sometimes on Sunday. Coverage of the game be on Yes Network if you live in and around the city of New York. And if you don't live in New York or around New York or in and around Toronto, you can catch the game instead on NBA League Pass. I didn't even go over statistics from the game yet. Let me just give quick stats for the Nets. Brook Lopez, 23.6 rebounds. Rondé Hollis-Jefferson, 4.6 rebounds, 3 assists. As I said, he wasn't a big statistical factor. Isaiah Whitehead, 0 points, 1 rebound, 4 assists. As I mentioned, he only played 14 minutes because he got a little bit of a shoulder or some type of an injury. Hopefully he's not hurt badly. Randy Foye, 3 points, 1 rebound, 2 assists. Karis LeVert, 4 points, 5 rebounds, 1 assist. Those are all the starters. Off the bench, 6 players played off the bench. Luis Scola, 1.4 rebounds. Trevor Booker, 8.7 rebounds, 4 assists. He was very active, as was Quincy Acee, 8 points, 3 rebounds. Joe Harris, 15 points, 2 rebounds, played terrific. Spencer Dinwiddie, 13 points, 4 rebounds. Sean Kilpatrick, 18 points, 5 rebounds, 4 assists. So a lot of contributions throughout the roster. And their assist to turnover was 20-19. This is 1-1. Not even that good. Nothing. They still played a great game. So someone's calling me out to see who that is. We'll talk to you again in less than 48 hours. Brooklyn Nets hosting Indiana Pacers Sunday, February